Jamie the Blind Limey here with the atheist community of Austin. You know, us atheists, we get asked questions quite often by theists and religious people. Often they ask us, why do you care so much about religion? Well, in response, I have a few questions for them. Do you really think you can tell us how to live our lives while never questioning the source from which your moral code's derived? You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been derived? I wonder when we'll be free of your lies. Well, thankfully we have someone here who can help us maybe explore some of those questions. Performing her iconic single, Saved, here at the Atheist Community of Austin Three Thought Library, please welcome Shelley Segal.
Thanks, Jamie. Say that I need to be saved. Say with me, the devil's got his way. I want to know how when you are praying, or when you are doomsdaying, how you think you know that someone is listening to what you are saying. And so you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies.
That is how you start a show. That is how you start a show. Thank you, Shelley, for that wonderful performance and warm. I almost said warm performance.
Thanks so much,
welcome
guys.
Everybody.
Hi,
it's very warm. Warms my heart. My soulless atheist heart warms it. Today is May 19th, 2024. I am your host, JMike. Joining me today is Jim Barrows and obviously, as a special treat, Shelley Segal. So we really, really, really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. It's awesome to be here live in the library in Austin, Texas. Very cool.
Yeah, and so all of us have this kind of I have a connection now with we all have one thing in common. We know you from this theme, or maybe we've gone a little bit further with your music. But how did you even get started with music? How did that process start?
Well, actually, I grew up singing in my father's Jewish wedding band, so I was like a wedding singer since I was a little kid. Okay. And yeah, it was a great musical foundation, like learning to play in a lot of different styles. And I've been on stage since I was 11 years old with my dad's band, and it was around that time that I started writing songs as well. And so when I went through my deconversion, my transition experience, leaving my tradition of Judaism, thanks in part to the Atheist Experience show when I was a teenager, I started writing about my experiences, because that's just, that makes sense as a songwriter to write about what you're going through. It's such an amazing and intense full-on experience to go through that. So I started writing songs about my experience, and eventually I wrote a whole album called An Atheist Album. And that's how I got involved with the community, and how my song Saved is now part of the show, which is such a great honor.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Jim, I don't know if you want to ask. I don't want to talk over you. If you want a question before I go on to my next question.
No, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So you mentioned the songwriting process. What is that like? So I want to give kind of a comparison to because I play music, but I just it's like golf on Sunday for me. It's just kind of fun to do. But if I ever gave a lyric to my vocalist or something like that, if they needed an idea, I would have to kind of bury my own thoughts on the religious aspect, because I wasn't really sure. I knew my vocalist was religious, and I didn't know, the extent of that. So I'd kind of bury it,
right.
as much as I could, like this little crack, this kind of code. you seem like obviously you can be open about that. Is that like more freeing for you? Is that involved in your process, or do you try to kind of do that as well, where you just,
Well,
let people crack the code, so to speak?
I think it's easier for me than you because, you have to get someone else to agree to sing your lyrics if you're,
exactly.
passing it along to a vocalist. Where me, I've been, it's a curse and a blessing, if I can say. I'm a solo artist, so I get to decide, every part of what happens with my music. So, it wasn't really something that was intentional in terms of like writing about the atheist stuff. Like I've always used my music as a therapy and a way to express myself and what I'm going through. So I remember when I wrote Saved, it was after I'd talked to a preacher in the street, and he was in my neighborhood, in this Jewish neighborhood. So he was preaching Christianity. So I don't think he was having much luck, but he came up to me and told me, that I was going to burn in hell, and I was going to, have these terrible consequences if I didn't do what he told me I need to do. And I just, I kind of was frustrated, and I went home and I started writing this song about how, who are you to come into my world and tell me how to live my life? So for me, it's a very it's a way of getting out my ideas and my feelings, and I find that like really helpful, really therapeutic. It's a great experience. But then at the same time, I run a studio and production company in LA with my best friend Prince, and we work on music for film and TV, and we work on music with other artists. So it can't exactly be a moment of therapy for me. It's also just a play and reaching for whatever the song or the moment calls for. And then I also, speaking of the writing process, every week on Sundays at 2 p.m. Pacific time, because I'm based in LA, I do, I'm going to have to move it so I don't, so it's not concurrent with you guys. Yeah. So let's say 1 p.m. from now on. Pacific time, right. 1 p.m. Pacific time, I do a live stream songwriting session with people on cool. YouTube. And because I think, the process of creativity should be demystified. I think people think it's so inaccessible. I think I'm not a creative person, but I think everyone has access to creativity. So I love to share that process and actually write a song with people live in the moment so they can see and be part of it.
Yeah. So what would you say might be the highlight of your career thus far?
That's really hard to
Yeah, I know it's
been a long career.
Something that has been a highlight, or something.
Yeah.
That's...
Okay. So yeah, exactly. Definitely being part of this show has been amazing. Yeah. Also playing at the Reason Rally, at the National Mall on stage to thousands of people who, are there because they care about the same issues that I'm passionate about. Being on stage, on the same stage as Tim Minchin and Richard Dawkins and Bad Religion and. But also working with Recovering from Religion, which is another amazing organization doing great things for our community and people who are questioning. Despite big names and big concerts, I think the thing that means the most to me is when my music connects to people, and when someone writes to me and says, "I'm in Saudi Arabia, I heard your music and I feel less alone." Yeah. Or you put the way that I feel into music and you made me feel beautiful. And to me, that will keep me going. One comment like that will keep me going for a week, is that to me is very, very meaningful and, very encouraging.
Yeah, no, I 100% can understand that. It's there's a lot of burnout with anything you do. And, if you go through something like that, for an example, that can just pick you right back up, having somebody, reach out to you and be like, okay, I might be, pushing it hard. I might be, sometimes feeling like I'm doing a lot, not getting a lot, but that made it worth it, right? That
Absolutely. Yeah. I bet you guys get a lot of feedback like that too. It's really rewarding.
When it happens, it's great. I mean, you can't let it get to my head because, I'm so awesome. It's
well, I guess we also get to balance it out with the hate mail too, right? There's a
exactly. That's what I focus on. Put it on my wall and stuff. It's good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shelley. I do want to let everybody know that if you stick around, Shelley will be doing another performance after the show. And so you can enjoy that live directly after the show. And I want to mention to everybody that the Atheist Experience is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And we always do our question of the week. And so we're going to do that before the call. We always do it before calls. We're going to do it before calls today. And then we'll get into the juicy stuff. Last week we asked, what's a good comeback for You Need Jesus? And we got Jim. Do you want to read these out? I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I can read those out. Number 3, Mr. Grimm X888X. I think I got one too many 8s in there. It's just 88. Them. You need Jesus. Me. Did the talking donkey tell you that? Number 2 from Jake319. I already had him. He kept bragging about a second coming when I was still working on my first. And number 1, Seeker of Truth. I need Jesus like I need a hole in my head.
Wow.
Or hands and feet.
Oh man. Yeah. All right. Well, I'll let that settle for a little bit, and you'll digest that. The prompt for this week is going to be, why did God really go no contact with people? Because now I used to hear from him all the time, but now God doesn't say a peep, I guess. So, Jim, do you have any ideas?
Yeah, have you met his followers? I think it's the only going no contact is the only way to deal with them. I mean, they're all gun-toting weirdos. So
that's funny. All right. Well, if you all have any thoughts in your mind, you can lay them down in the comments, and we will read the top 3 on the next week. I want every time I do the Share Your Week, I always want to say we'll read them tomorrow. No, we will not read them tomorrow. We will read them next Sunday. So, anyway, looks like we can go to calls, and I have in the call-in screen, or the call screener. I'm sorry if I can get English right. Has somebody who I invited, and I remember inviting this person. I don't remember the content of what we talked about, but I'm going to bring Nick up in Wisconsin. I talk with a lot of people online, so I'm sorry, Nick. I remember your name, but I can't remember exactly what we talked about. What was it that we talked about again?
It was a little strange. So I caught you on the live, right? You were talking with one of the callers that I actually heard. You were talking with him, and he was really stuck. I'm not sure if it was you, Jay, or if it was the host, but he kept hammering away at something, and I was almost trying to advocate for him in one aspect where I was saying, well, he doesn't understand something here, and I was trying to make it clear for him and for the other person, but then it trailed off into something else.
Okay, well, maybe you
I don't remember. I don't remember as well. I don't remember as well.
I want to extend. Can I extend? Like, I appreciate that you called in. I've asked so many people to do this, and they never do. They never do. So
really?
That's like almost never. Like you'll get like maybe Jim or Johnny. Like, hey, we got one that almost never I can get them to call in. Like they'll say they will, and then they don't show up. But maybe we can talk about something
else.
You're
an intense guy.
I appreciate it. Maybe we can figure out something.
It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. But maybe we can find something too.
We can talk about whatever. I remember bringing up the idea that, and I think it was to you, and it wasn't another day, but I was in the channel before. I remember bringing up the idea that I'm not acquainted with debate very well, but I like to explore.
Okay.
So I love to hear out what others are saying so that I can refine what I have acquired, if I have acquired anything of use. So,
sure. Well, so
knowledge, as in, yeah.
Well, I just want to see if we can get like a proposition on the table. Like what, sure. Obviously I'm an atheist. I remember you being a theist. I don't remember what flavor of theism you might be. Or,
right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like maybe
It's
you want to ask me something
Protestant.
I
I'm a
believe, or I
Protestant.
ask you something you believe. But I want to figure out, maybe we obviously we disagree. I think we can have a fruitful conversation about that disagreement. So you
Okay,
think God
cool.
exists?
So I did write some notes, trying to figure out how this might go. But one thing that kind of sticks out when I was talking to one of my mentors, he said that, let's picture this, and I don't know if this is going to lead into like some kind of base where we can go off of, but he said that, let's say a person goes into a car lot, right? And you tell me, hey Nick, go find the Cadillac, the silver Cadillac with this license plate or whatever. It's super specific, has to be perfect, right? So I could go out there and let's say there's 100 cars. He knows there's 100 cars. You know there are 100 cars. And I go out there and the 20th car I get to, and I'm like, hey, I found it. I come back and I'm like, hey, dude, I found it. And you're like, did you check all the cars? And I'm like, I didn't need to. I went to the 20th one and I got it. And I think this is it. Can you confirm it, and whatever. And I take you there, right? It's kind of a similar situation with what I think I'm experiencing with what I think is my relationship with God, right? I believe that I've found him. I don't believe it's the same type of God or whatever that teachers and preachers and people of renown, not in a per se in a good way, but they have influence, have taught.
Well, sure, but
Go ahead.
Because like the format of the show, we want to try to get through. I have a bunch of calls that are stacking up, so I want to try to get at a very specific thing we don't agree. So you think God exists,
brevity,
and I want to
brevity.
Yeah, and I would like to know like what.
So I'm calling that car God. And you can, like, what was the other part of that? Basically, I don't have to know everything. The cars are information. Right?
Yeah,
the cars are experiences.
I'm okay with not knowing everything and believing, but I just want to know what actual reason you have to think God exists, right? Like you could think it's
okay. So my reason,
you could think it's going to impress
right.
me or not. I just want to know what reason you have, right?
So my reason is I kind of compare God to truth. I say God is truth. So to me, I'm subject to that, and I have to be held to that high standard. So I anything that is not true, I have to weed it out, right?
Wait, but we already have,
so that's the base.
If God is truth, I mean, then this probably won't be a productive conversation because me and Jim both think that propositions can be. Yeah, I mean, but here's why, because me and Jim both think that propositions can be true, statements can be true, but we wouldn't say like, the value of that statement is God, right? We wouldn't use like an is of identity. Truth is God, and when we say like,
it's
is that an is of identity?
Of God.
Well, real quick, is that an is of identity or an is of predication? Because I can say like Jim is nice, right? And that's not saying Jim is identical to niceness or is nice. Like we're just predicating. We're giving like a property or an attribute about him. But if you just say God is truth, then just think about what you can do there. I can just replace God with the word truth because they're the same words. They're coextensive, right? So all you've really said is truth is truth. It's a truthy truth. Right, but I don't really know where I'm supposed to disagree with the view. See what I'm
saying? Right, right. So I guess that's a safe way for me to kind of be introduced to like any disagreement. So like for me, God, that's like a characteristic, like you said, it's a characteristic or personality type. So the more I dig into it, the more I look into it, and the more that I test it, I find, and I'm talking about it as in like the concept of God, the concept of what I think the Bible is attempting to communicate with what was written and everything like that, including the New Testament, which I think bothered you when I brought that up. I'm not sure, not bothered you, but like
I don't remember what we
kind
talked
of
about.
Raised something.
Yeah, let me ask you this. When you say it's a characteristic, that isn't really evidence for God, right? I mean, you're just talking about one of his characteristics, and how do you know that characteristic exists? Like, it's me going, when describing a zebra, it eats grass. Okay, but that's not really going to tell me that a zebra actually exists, right? So I don't care about his characteristics until you demonstrate that he exists, because we could be talking about a wide variety of animals if we're talking about just something that eats grass, right? There's a lot of those. So it doesn't actually distinguish anything for me to say that he is truth. So do you have any any evidence rather than just characteristics that we can assign to even fictional characters?
Could you ask that one more time?
Do you have anything other than characteristics? Yeah, the question is, do you have anything besides the characteristic of God?
The fact that
You're proof that God exists?
I think it's almost like this, kind of like it helps me believe, like, because of truth. So I don't know how to describe it, because I'm sorry guys, I'm not great at debates.
You're all you're doing is describing a characteristic of something you believe exists, right? So by analogy, I could describe a zebra as something that eats grass. Does that prove that zebras exist? That it's a critter that eats grass? Does that prove zebras exist?
That just means you either are telling me of something you experienced, and to me that means it matters, or it exists somehow in some way, shape, or form.
It's a yes or no question, though.
But it's not like
I'm not sure I understand. Right. It doesn't prove that zebras exist. In the same way, you saying that God is truth doesn't prove God exists. So you haven't even taken the first step towards proving that God exists. And to say that God is truth, I mean, if we define, it depends on how we define truth. If we define truth as that which conforms to reality as adjudicated by predictive power, if you say God exists, what can I predict from that statement?
If I say God exists, what can you predict from that statement?
Yeah, like what expectation would you have?
Right. So should I expect prayers to be answered? Would that be something reasonable to conclude, that if God exists?
Yes, I would say yeah.
Then how do you explain the Templeton Foundation's study on prayer that showed that prayer has no more effect than a placebo?
That's okay. I don't think that needs to be excluded.
Your prediction has just been proven false, right? If we look at, does prayer have any effect on reality, which is what you said you would expect if God was true.
That study made it proof?
The study proved conclusively, yes, that, again, the Templeton Foundation, by the way, is a Christian foundation attempting to prove that prayer did in fact has some effect on the world, and it doesn't, right? So can you demonstrate to me the truth that, pardon?
So it affects the person praying, is what I said.
How's that any different from me talking to myself? No, so the Templeton Foundation, what they did was they went and studied people who had a medical condition. People were praying for them to get well versus people who didn't have anybody praying for them.
Oh yeah,
and nobody
specific prayers like my intention is for you to be healed. I'm going to pray so that you are healed. That is that has zero effect. That has zero effect on any medical outcome. That has that's happened to me when I was praying. Yeah. That's happened.
So when you say healed, what was your medical condition?
And they died.
What was the medical condition?
Medical condition? They were just a baby. I forget what the medical condition of the baby was, but I remember all the church. I was in the midst of all the church, right? They were all praying for to survive.
So how do you?
That's hard.
Right. You know that when it comes to human memory, we remember the hits and forget the misses. So I'm not entirely convinced by your anecdote where you can't remember details, and you couldn't even go in and show from that anything actually happened, right? Because people get well all the time, and so you need to demonstrate that, which is why you need to do a study. Your anecdotal evidence doesn't cut the mustard on that one.
Did you mishear me? But the child died.
Oh. Well, in that case,
how is that a miracle?
It doesn't change anything that I said, right? It doesn't change anything that I said.
All I was doing was agreeing with you. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So all I was saying,
Okay, so
with what you said, like
all right.
sometimes you pray and the result of that prayer is not answered in the way that I would want it to be answered, right? Because that my
So let me recap real quick. We said that if God is that which is in accordance with reality is adjudicated by predictive power, you said that as a predictive ability with it, prayers should be answered. We both agree that prayers aren't answered. So where are we now?
Well, my prayer wasn't answered in that moment. I agree with that.
Right, but the study shows that prayers aren't answered.
I can only speak for myself. Well,
Right, but the study shows that prayers don't answer. It's a much more definitive than your anecdotal evidence.
Yeah, and like the thing that you just said kind of
more definitive, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, Nick, the thing that you said kind of highlights it. Like, I talk with people a lot if they say that personal experiences of family members or friends and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I know you. You know, you talk to a lot of Christians and theists, but like, you know, what about my personal experience? It's not like you have an argument against that. It's like, well, no. I mean, I don't know your experience. I can't investigate your experience.
Right.
But like,
argue against the personal.
Yeah, I can't do that. I would be dishonest to think I could. But like, I mean, I'm convinced I don't live in a world where people are really having those attributed experiences. I think they're having some experience. They're just wrongfully making the attribution to something else, right? But real quick, yeah. But so when you said like it's personal, that stuff's personal for me. All of that kind of tells me that I don't know we're going to make much progress, because the reason I do this show and the conversation that I'm interested in, the game that I'm playing, right, that I pay money to buy into, metaphorically. The game I'm playing the game I'm playing is trying to convince somebody, right? It's not just talking about private thoughts that you have, right? Or private experiences that you have, because we all have that. We all have imaginations. We all have ideas. We all have concepts. But in order for like another person, another agent to be convinced by it, you're gonna have to show that it doesn't just merely, map onto, the concept you have, right?
Yeah, I guess the proof is that if God were to exist, posing that, if he were to exist, would it make sense that quote unquote his children, right, who are quote unquote, and I come from more of a born again approach. So if his children are spiritually alive to God through Christ,
I don't know what that means.
That would kind of
I don't know what spiritually alive. I don't know what spiritually alive means. I have no idea what that means.
So let's say
I don't know that concept isn't opaque, right? It seems like that's just an opaque concept. Like I don't know what that even means.
So I'll clear it up. I'll try to clear it up. So what I mean by that, I think what I mean is like picture like just a regular you having a child. You having a child with someone. You have a child and they have to mature into that family. When they're adopted by a different family, they have a different set of cultures, right? It's just a different culture. No matter where you are, that's a different culture.
Yeah, but so all the stuff you're listing,
so
me and Jim can explain all this stuff without this extra postulate that you have. And what's really key about that is that, like, if me and Jim can explain like this type of data without having to deal with like a spiritual alive or whatever the word is, we don't have to add this extra kind of foreign substance, right? This spirit thing, but we can explain the data equally. All that tells us is that we both explain that we'll grant it to you. You explain the data with that stuff. We explain the data with that stuff, but I have less stuff than you. And so all that points out to me and Jim is we have no reason to add that extra postulate because it has no explanatory power. It does nothing. It's inert. It's an idle wheel, right? And that's like the crux of all of my arguments for my view is essentially like, is that you don't need this postulate. And it doesn't sound like we have any reason to buy into it.
Oh, hey, I don't blame you. Okay. I don't blame you at all. But the thing is, like what you were saying, I think it does have to do with the fact that I'm pretty sure when the Bible was written, they have their own culture with their own understanding, which needed to be translated into our language with our culture. And if we supersede our culture over theirs, it will not make any sense to us unless we condescend and join their cult, not really join it, but like basically get on their level of what are you trying to say with this quote unquote word of God.
You recognize that the early Israelites were Cananites and were polytheist, right? The earliest evidence we have for the Israelites is they're polytheist, right?
Yes.
Okay. So how does that work into your belief that there's only one God? How do you take your idea that you have to understand the culture coming from a polytheist culture to a monotheist culture? And I guess the other question is, do you think there are multiple gods or only one God?
Let me write you down, bud. Let me get it. But you can repeat the question once I had it.
And then after that, we're gonna wrap it up because we have a bunch of calls coming in. We want to try to get through.
Yeah.
So here's the question again. The early Israelites were Cananites. That's according to all the archaeology we have. The Canaanites were polytheists. The Israelites eventually became monotheist. Given you said that we have to understand their culture, how do you get from a monotheist from a polytheist to a monotheistic religion, understanding that is their culture? Not only that, but Yeshua is a minor storm god in the Canaanite pantheon. So do you believe that there's multiple gods, or do you believe there's only one God?
I believe in, and not trust in, but I believe those gods exist.
Okay, so you're polytheist.
When I look at, is that what that makes me? Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
it's like saying I'm an unmarried man, and then we explain
that.
what a bachelor is, and then we're like,
it's not
you're
that
a
I
bachelor.
put my trust in those gods, though. It's not that I put my trust in those gods. I believe they exist. I don't believe I understand them. I don't believe I have that kind of information, which I am learning, by the way. I'm going and I'm learning all about that. But
okay,
that's the whole point of this whole thing.
But could I? So I don't want to take this offensively, but if you're learning, I think that's great. Could I extend one thing to add to that learning pile? I think that should come first. Anything on I'm not saying because I don't think it's wrong. I'm not saying because you've demonstrated you don't know this, but this should just help your reasoning process. Anything on intro into epistemology, or just how do you develop good standards of evidence? What does evidence mean? What is good standards of evidence? How do I raise the probability of the proposition to be true? What's Bayes? All of this stuff, you'll see this stuff, and there's ways to justify your beliefs. Might not be me and Jim you come back to us, we still don't bite on the bullet. We don't think it compels us, or we don't think it's a good reason. But my issue is that I haven't seen very many an underlying reason, an inference, something that gets you to that conclusion. It seems it seems convincing to you, off first glance, oh yeah, I think that I could believe in that. That's how it seems to me. And I don't know that that's charitable, but that's just how it comes off to me. When I have things brought up to, it seems because biting polytheism today, that's, you got to be pretty, I feel like you got to be really, really open. Right, with the social backlash that you get from being a polytheist from a lot of people.
The God that I believe in I believe that the God that I believe in calls me to be that sincere and genuine about my non-knowledge, about things I don't know, and to be actually real about things I feel I do know and I think I do know, more than others, because it is a personal experience. I can't escape that. I am me, right? I am myself. So I don't know how.
No, if you are yourself, why are you blaming God for your desire to know as many true things as possible?
Oh, I'm not. I don't think so. I don't think I'm doing that.
You just literally said that. Go back and watch this section again. You just said that God calls you to do. God, you just said that God calls you to know as many true things as possible. I'm paraphrasing you on that last bit, and I asked, why do you blame God for something that you say is a part of you? Doesn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, but Nick, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on, but if you want to say like the last thing, I'm not gonna just totally just shut you up. But if you want to say one last thing, then we're gonna move on.
Okay, yeah, one last thing. Thank you for that. So one last thing, I kind of wanted to address what he just said. It's just the fact that I believe and trust in and have unrelenting faith in the God above all gods. And these gods that exist, I believe in them because I believe they exist, not because I trust them or depend on them. I depend on the God. I depend on the definite article God, the God of God.
No, I know I wasn't gonna say anything, but if you, I don't know if I should.
Yeah,
because like I believe, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's if you got to understand, it sounded like you just said like a tautology, like I believe them because I believe them or something. But I don't know. Maybe I misheard you. We could talk again, maybe on TikTok. I'll see you on there, and we'll run into each other again. But thank you, Nick. Appreciate it. Yeah, sorry, I mean to cut you off there. No, thank you for calling, and it takes guts and cojones to call in. So as they like to say. So, all right. So let's move on to before we move on to, let's talk about something that I really do want to talk about, and that is the Bat Cruise. I'm going to be there. Are you going to be there?
I am not sure yet. I've still got some things to work out.
Okay.
Yeah,
I need to put you on the spot.
Try like hell. Yeah, no, I am going to try to get there. It may be a surprise, but even to me. So,
well, it is that time. It's our annual Bat Cruise fundraiser. You can join us on August 24th with Forrest Falkai, myself, Secular Rarity, and many other familiar faces. Hopefully, Jim. Yeah, he probably has a lot of these celebrity yacht parties he's like behind on. And we've got to catch up with all of them. So
I wish it was that.
Yeah, we'll let him do that. Let him get off the yachts. Yeah, but anyway,
it is an absolute blast, folks. You really should plan on coming out to Austin for the Bat Cruise. Whether or not they're bats, we have to admit that they are critters. And we went out one year, and there had been a hurricane that had hit somewhere in the southeast, and the bats all went there to go grab a free lunch. So that may happen again, may not. We've got some storms coming, storms came through now, so they're probably not flying out from under the bridge right now. They're probably down here and other places getting free snacks. But
yeah, it's totally.
Do come out.
It's really fun, really, really fun. We got to go last year and meet a lot of really cool people, and it's really a blast. It's the thing I want to hope continues happening for till as long as I'm on this earth. So that'd be something to look forward to every year. So I'm really excited. And you can get more information and buy your tickets at tiny.cc/batcruise. That's tiny.cc/batcruise. And then available on the atheistcommunity.org are printable call-in flyers. You can post these, of course, with permission to community bulletin boards. You might get some churches or something that'll let you do it, but don't just go up there and put it on a freaking bulletin board. That's rude, right? But then they can know to call our show and defend their faith, and that would be great. It'd be really good. In fact, if you can find a church that would be willing to do that, that's great. That's going to create a nice little portal in between us, and I think that's good. We can get more. Our cookies taste better, right? So we can get more people on our side. The ACA wants you to know what is going on in our community, and for that, we've got an updated website. Head to www.atheist-community.org, where you can learn about the organization itself, its policies, and how you can get involved. And then we also want to send a big thank you to the crew who put the show together every single week. And we want to put their beautiful, I was going to say something else. I'll be kind. Beautiful faces. And we get a little vulgar, certain words here. Watch the monetization. They're beautiful faces. No, we're not ready. Okay. Look at my beautiful face.
How are they not ready for us?
That's all good.
They knew this was coming. They're following the same script.
I'll do it 10 times now, and I'll throw them off every time now. But it's all good. We'll get it eventually. No worries. We'll come back to it. We're gonna go ahead and take some remainders, some calls. I think let's go to Mac in California. Says argument for God. I'll let you pick the argument. I mean, I don't know what argument do you?
I don't care.
Yeah.
They're all equally bad.
Not grocery shopping.
Hey, JMike and Jim, I've spoken to you both. I don't know if you remember the argument from the theory of everything with Eric, JMike, and I've spoken to Jim twice with Dillahunty. Dillahunty's smarter than God. I'm that guy. Anyways, I wanted.
I don't remember. Maybe. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
really
remember
bad at remembering.
Yeah, no worries. I'm sure Jim does because this was fairly recently. But anyways, so
I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay,
It's an atheist thing. We have forgetful memories.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Too much weed, dude. Smoking too much herbals. But anyways, so this argument is the argument from perennialism. Are you familiar with that concept?
You're talking about like William James. I'm trying to dig way back in the head here. William James perennial philosophy.
William James is the argument from subjective experience. Perennialism is just a broad philosophical concept that God has been contacting humans all throughout known human history.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, my understanding was it's like this collection of all these kind of religious beliefs, but I could be just totally wrong.
Yeah, no, I'm very careful. I really like to define terms because with language,
sure, of course,
if you're not careful with definitions, you can't even follow the argument. So this is just free form. So forgive me if I call me out on any non sequiturs or whatever. So my argument's going to be that all religions contain truth. The truth is necessary for logic and meaning, and therefore we can have some subjective experience personally that God exists. That's premise one, if you want to put it in a premise one.
That sounded like more than one premise, but
yeah. No more logic here, dude. Don't be afraid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure I understand what the statement even was. It's like really hard to hear you.
Okay, well, either accept it or deny it. It's a excluded middle proposition, so it's either yes or no.
No, I get that. I can't actually understand the content of what you said because your voice is really like basic.
You want me to rephrase it? I'll rephrase it if you want. I can put it in another.
Just restate it because neither one of us heard it very well.
Rephrasing it, I can't audibly hear you.
Oh shoot! Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, if you're on speakerphone, please don't do that.
I'm not.
Okay, it sounds better. Now I can actually hear you. It just wasn't intelligible.
I'm not in my studio. I'm not mic'd up or anything. So basically, I'll rephrase the argument.
Oh my gosh.
Did we lose you?
I don't know. I'm gonna return him to the queue and go somewhere else for now.
Okay.
I just
he said like he was underwater there for a second, and if you're on like a cell phone or something like that, keep that mic right in front of your mouth. Don't move it around, especially if you're walking around. I do that sometimes on the phone when I'm walking around. I'll move the mic a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to blame him. It's just it would get like, I'm like, I don't know what's being said right now. So anyway, so I guess we will go to let's see. Let's go to we got a theist here. Sura, hopefully that's right, from India. We might be hopefully we got good audio here. But if not, we can pivot back. How you doing, bud?
Hello. Fine.
Hey. Yeah, so it says you want to talk about strong yeah, go ahead.
When a religion exists for more than 500 or 1,000 years, I feel that there is something strong force, unseen force, which is giving power to that religion, whether it is Hinduism or Islam or Christianity. So, what do you think about?
I'm gonna, Jim, if you can make out any of that.
So you're saying that there's a strong force that is driving all the religions, and what do we think about that? I think that strong force is our desire to have explanations for things, and that it's not supernatural for some definition of force. But it just seems that all religions are an attempt to explain things and also an attempt to gain control over things that we have no control over, whether it be storms or earthquakes or other people. That seems to me much more reasonable than adding this supernatural God to the equation.
So you are saying that human curiosity is what driving religion.
Yeah, not curiosity, but our desire to explain something.
But the problem is that once in a lifetime, there will be so many people like us. Once in a lifetime, they will certainly question for evidence. But how the whole mankind is getting fooled for so many thousands of years. Man has
because
so much
once
time to live.
because stories grow, right? Stories grow and expand. There's you can trace like the story of Odin back to a chieftain that lived around the Black Sea. We tell stories all the time. We are storytellers, and that's what we really like to do when we're talking about other things. That's why fairy tales exist. That's why Grimm's fairy tales, which are all much darker than the Disney version, but we tell these stories as ways to teach morals, or as a way to teach things that can happen if you do certain things, action reaction type stuff. It's just what we do as human beings. We're storytellers. So I don't understand why you need to postulate a God for this natural phenomenon, right? It just seems unnecessary.
According to Pew Research Center, they are telling that the number of atheism is going down. The percentage of atheism is going down to 13%.
Yes.
And the religion people are rising up.
Yeah, but who cares?
Yeah, I mean, that's because the stories are no longer holding power. We have new stories to tell, right? If we want stories of heroes and heroism, we no longer need 1,000-year-old stories. We have very modern stories to tell, whether those are from Marvel or science fiction. It doesn't matter. We just have so much better. But those stories are just extensions of these older stories, right? They're just retelling older stories of heroism and morals, etc. So the fact that it's going down is not a big deal.
Like professional wrestling, we tell the same story in professional wrestling all the time. Want the good guy to win, right? It's like we have this archetypal narrative, and some people will know exactly who like I'm quoting on that. I don't want to actually say it like this, but this has become a reason why people can be convinced by someone who I think doesn't know what they're talking about archetypal narratives and about how there's more true than there is being true, right? People are convinced by ridiculous things. It's not crazy to me that when I look out into the world, the masses of people are convinced by that. The masses of people also listen to music I think is like just horrendous. I don't know how they do it, but it doesn't mean it's objectively the best music. But there's no I don't understand this kind of, if I'm hearing you right, why the percentage is going either way would matter. Do we have fucking good reasons to believe this claim, or do we fucking not have good reasons to believe this claim? I don't care about the peripheral shit. I don't care about the storytelling aspects of it. That's great. If that works for you, that's fine. I don't need that. I don't. I can live my life without some fake story that I need to build myself up on. That's fine if other people need that. I'm not taking anything away from them. But I guess I just don't get this concern. I don't know, right? It's just, what reasons do we have? And it doesn't seem like we have very many good reasons to add all of this extra foreign, supernatural stuff.
Actually, do you feel that atheists didn't exist before 1,000 years? People as a atheist people didn't exist. Do you feel that atheist people didn't exist before 500 or 1,000 years and started questioning people? Do you feel that?
You're saying about the percentage of people 1,000 years ago and the difference between that? Of people that were believers and non-believers? Is that what you're asking?
Atheist people people like you would have existed before 500 and 1,000 years, right?
400,000 or 500,000 years. I mean, I think.
I mean, atheists exist. I think atheists have existed through for as long as humanity's existed.
We're talking
Yes.
like 300,000 years. Yeah, but
So when they teach, they will question people that everything is not everything is false. Even they tell people, but still people are following. So I feel that something is controlling the minds of mankind, minds of humans, to just go for God and religion.
Yes, the power of the power of story.
Everything.
That what you're looking for is just the power of story. The fact that we keep telling that we have these archetypical stories, that we can go in and look at any movie and see that every movie follows a particular pattern of about 12 different things, is powerful. That we can go and go to movietropes.com or is it TV Tropes? I forget. Anyway, there's a tropes website out there, and you can go to that website and mix and match 5 or 6 different tropes and write a story, right? And it doesn't change the fact that when you have a story like Apollo 13, you have the movie and you have the actual events that inspired the movie, but we know it went that way because we know Apollo 13 happened, but we don't know some of these other stories that are necessarily true, especially like the Bible or the Quran or any of these other things. We know that some of those stories are true, but powerful stories have an impact. And if you repeat a lie often enough, people will come to believe it. And we know that's also true. So these stories don't have to be true to become to be believed. Yeah. They just have to be repeated enough and start you young enough where you can actually believe them. So I don't know. I mean, you need to demonstrate this force actually exists, since, I mean, given Occam's razor, the one, I don't need a God for mine, you need a God for yours.
At least 50% of the people will question the authority of stories, right? The truth about stories.
So what? That doesn't address anything that I've said.
Yeah, because look, Sura, I think this is a really good point that Jim's laying out. Think about one of the most popular stories that's in every single Jesus movie that you'll see. The woman taken in adultery, right? It's a really good story, right? I mean, subjectively, I guess. I can see why people are compelled by that. I get how it moves Christians. I get it. Didn't happen. It was a late edition. Didn't happen. But people are so convinced. I know that. By the way, I know you're not a Christian, or at least I presume that you're not. But people are convinced that story is probably the most compelling out of a lot of Christians I've met. Right? These stories are very compelling. They really believe it's true. What makes them think it's true? It's the content of what the story says. It's not any independent investigation. It's not raising the probability that it might be true. It sounds nice to them, and so they just take on the attitude that it's true. It's that simple. It really is that simple, right? Because the only alternative where it wouldn't be simple is some type of investigation. No one's doing that. No one's like, let me investigate these stories. They're just believing them. They're just accepting them.
So what money benefit do the story creators get? What monetary benefit those story creators get? They get nothing, right?
I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. You said
what money benefit do the story creators?
We don't think. Right? Oh, because I don't think that they made. Look, I don't think that someone came along and just was like, I'm gonna make up a whole bunch of stuff, right? That's not what happened. There's certain things that scribes maybe write in the manuscripts that will be as in the side. And then a scribe will come and copy it and add that into it because they believe that was actually what was said. Right? There's a process of these things getting kind of leaked in and changed. It's not just someone just came up and goes, a really good example. Luke 21, Luke 17, 20 through 21 is a verse where Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and he says, look, the kingdom of God is not something that you will say, here it is, or there it is. It's not something that will be observed, right? And that move is it's unique to Luke. And it changes the entire notion of what the kingdom of God is, this literal thing, not the spiritual thing that's present in the ministry. I don't think that the authors of Luke just were like, we got to make this up. They took stock in what Jesus said, and they had to reinterpret when the disciples, passed away, but the kingdom of God has not been established on earth. They had to reinterpret. So I don't think like people, it's not just someone sits down and writes this stuff. It's this big process of people being convinced, scribes writing down stuff they're convinced by. And yes, in some cases, they are just trying to stress a theological point. And that's the benefit when they do that, dishonestly. That's the benefit they get. They get the benefit of stressing their theological point and that point being accepted. And there are people that are totally willing to do that.
And the other problem that you run into with this idea of some economic benefit for telling the story is people didn't have the same idea of historical truth that we have today. That something was historically true or not was never the point of a story. It was always something else. It was always to be funny and make people laugh. It was to educate on the way things work. It was a wide variety of reasons. And so adapting the story to whatever culture the storyteller was in, or whatever group of people the storyteller was in, was just a natural way to do it, because it didn't change what the point of the story was. So you could tell a humorous story that was about some tribal leader somewhere and change it to the tribal leader you're telling a story to, and it's still funny. And so it still works, but it may be funnier because everybody knows that person and can see that quirk or whatever it is you're making fun of in that person. So you don't have to have an economic benefit for any of this to happen. You just have to have the desire to tell a story with a particular goal in mind. And that goal has, until recently, the last 500 years or so, has been historical accuracy, or accuracy to what, to reality.
So you are
that
saying
help
that
at all?
fame, and so you are saying for fame and name,
No.
people are exploiting their imagination.
No. Well, I mean, exploiting imagination is probably taking it a little bit far, but there, every story has a reason to be told, right? So sometimes it's just to entertain. We could look at the stories of Paul Bunyan for that. Some are to teach morals or other things, and Grimm's fairy tales might do that. The stories of how Odin will become human and test his followers to see if they're being good hosts to strangers, and are treating strangers correctly. There's a warning there that you should treat strangers with a degree of respect. We look at any story you care to name, and we can see determine what that purpose is. And these people do, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not. The impact of Marvel comics and the Marvel movies on our culture has been huge. None of those are true. So again, they're there to entertain. They're there to wow. They're there to, but there's also morals, right? Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Iron Man's fight with himself, and putting on the armor because he's ultimately afraid of being hurt, or he's trying to increase his own abilities. I mean, there's some really human things going on in all of these stories from the Marvel, but none of them are true. So again, with the storytellers, especially from the past, truth wasn't the point. The point was something else, and it doesn't matter if you change the facts, as long as you're making that point.
So what is making people not to question the credibility or the truth about stories? What is making humans not to question about the truth of stories?
Because they get told it from birth, and they get told it over and over and over again until they believe it.
Some people, it doesn't take very much. Just
So why?
It's really easy when you're born into like a world that's when you're born into a world that's constructed around you. It's like this whole architecture has been constructed around you through your developmental process. It sounds foreign any other way, right? I mean, you can you can do so much with you can manipulate the human mind in so many ways. There's people that do it very well that don't know how they're even doing it. Like in terms of like psychological, analysis or some academic analysis, because they've just realized what works. They just repeat.
But at some point of their life, when adulthood or mature, they become mature, they will surely question, right? Not to the end of their lives, they will keep believing it. Do you think for the end of their life they keep believing it?
That sounds context sensitive. If you're talking about, I don't know if I'm hearing you right. If you're talking about people at the end of their life, or that's context sensitive. Some people will go their entire lives without. I'm hoping I'm actually addressing what you're saying and not, the connection and language barrier getting in the way there. But I don't know, Jim, do you want to respond?
Yeah, no, I think we've got around this as much as we can. Stories are stories; they have purposes. Early storytellers, we didn't care about what was true or not, whether the stories were true, because that wasn't their purpose to relate true things. So, yeah.
Thank you, Sura. We appreciate it.
Yep.
All right. Let's get to another call. Do you have a call in studio open? I don't know if you want to open up one or.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. But this one will probably be pretty quick, I think. Okay. Let me see. Did I get them up right? We have, Oliver, pronouns he, him in Florida. What does science or LGBT have to do with atheism? You might as well talk about any other arbitrary. This is easy. I don't know. Did you want to expand on that, or did you want a response from each of us?
Well, atheists a lot of times seem to like science. I don't know how that relates to their faith in no evidence of God, but that's obviously a faith there anyway. And then they simultaneously claim they have no faith, all the while keeping the faith. And if you say you don't say there's no evidence of God, sure you do. It's implicitly implied by asking for evidence constantly.
No, it's not.
So, and then the LGBT.
What? Wait, hold on. You think it's implicit? Wait, whoa. Hey, Jim, go ahead.
First, could you define faith for us? Could you define faith for us and how you're using that word?
Faith is the belief in any unknown. You can't know there's no evidence of God. Just because you say it doesn't make it true.
Okay, that's a really interesting definition. That so faith is believing in.
You're believing in something that you can't substantiate or confirm. If you
what am I believing? What am I believing in as an atheist that I can't substantiate or confirm?
Do you keep asking for evidence of God?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah,
I would like some evidence for God.
What's the logical?
Or at least a good.
Yeah. What? Because this is the part that I heard. What's the logical entailment from asking from that? What follows from that? I predict it'll be invalid.
Look, the God of Einstein. Let's take that. All the evidence.
Oh my God! I asked you a question, bro. Do you know how questions work? You know what follows a question? It's like an answer. Not like more incoherent rambling, right? It's typically not how conversations work.
Not really incoherent rambling. It's not. The God of Einstein has the evidence.
I am using the mute button for the first time, Oliver. Why did you make me do it? I didn't want to do it. It hurts me
God
more
of
than it hurts
Spinoza.
you.
Yeah. So first of all, it's the God of Spinoza, not the God of Einstein. Einstein just said that if he believed in any God, that would be the God that he did. That particular God is just the universe as is. There's no supernatural claims to be made. They don't claim it's an all-knowing. They don't claim that the universe is omnipotent. They don't claim that the universe is omnibenevolent, and they don't claim that the universe is omniscient. The universe is just the laws of physics and nothing else. That's basically the God of Spinoza. It's an absolutely useless God that means absolutely nothing. Yeah. So Einstein was an atheist anyway. So, I mean, that's a really, really bad, that's a really, not bad, that's a really ineffective definition of God, right? Because you don't get anything out of it. So,
I don't get that move. Like everybody in the world could believe in God except for me. I'm going to ask all of you, what's the fucking argument? What's the evidence? I don't care if there's more people than you, than me, or that guy's smarter. That guy solved world hunger. That's independent of whether or not a fucking God exists. If you can't grasp that there is not a biconditional between those things, if you can't grasp that, I can't help you. And at that point, I'm just going to leave the planet with all those people believing. That's fine. You can have your planet. You can do that. Go it somewhere else, for fuck's sake. But like, look, Oliver, you asked something, and this is the thing that bothered me. You said something to the effect of, when you asked for evidence, that somehow is what? Evidence that God exists? What was the wording that you used? Because I don't think you're going to be successful at that entailment. What was the entailment? Because I keep asking for evidence for God, what? What's the entailment?
Well, that would implicitly imply that you don't believe there's any evidence. But listen, hold up for a second.
Wait, whoa, no.
Give me a minute.
Yeah. This is the great part of having a show. I don't have to give you a minute.
We can mute you.
I don't fucking have to give you any minutes. I can just hang up on you right now if I wanted to. And you can go back in all the calls. I'm not like that. I typically don't do that. I try to give, there's times it happens. I try to give you a chance, but you got to slow it down, man. You're just like, boom, you're going 100 miles per hour. Relax, right? I asked you for the entailment, all right, from not believing. And you said that implicitly think that I think there is no evidence. That could be true. But honestly, I think that there's evidence for really any proposition, right? You can find evidence for quote unquote big book. What is big book? Bigfoot. Sorry. That's a new thing. Watch out, everybody. Big book is coming. Like,
that almost sounds like something a Christian would say. Yeah. The big book is coming to swap.
Yeah, it sounds like some television show I watched as a kid. But but if you can have evidence for any of these types of propositions, and they're like, you can be fine as an atheist saying like, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Like that very bad or weak evidence. Like you might expect a world, if a designer exists, they might design something like, yeah, okay, sure. Right. But like, we're talking about like some standard of evidence that's good. And I'm going to just flat out tell you, I don't hold the view that there is no evidence for God. I hold the view that there's no good evidence for God. Right. But if you think that's implicitly entailed, then you can give the argument, but I don't think that is either. I can be a Christian and I can ask that question, by the way. You're unmuted.
Can I say something?
You're about to not be able to.
I know you guys like to hear you're
about to not be able to. You go ahead without the meta, just go into it.
Look, Einstein said, I believe in Spinoza's God. He said that. I'm looking at the quote.
JMike said
covered that already.
Done with that call. I hung up on him.
Yeah, I covered that. Go back and listen to it. That God is absolutely useless. And we just replaced that God. We replaced the word God with the universe and still be right there. So, anyway.
All right, I'm gonna actually give, because I think this is the first call we had. I want to give Angus a chance from Nebraska, because I think our call prompt or our chat poll was on this topic, so maybe we can kind of tie it in here. It says that you say Jesus reported say a lot of things, but hasn't said anything. So presumably you're like a Jesus mythicist or something.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. What's the argument?
I was wondering if you would talk about how Yahweh, the Father, and Yeshua, the Son, never actually said anything in the Old Testament and the New Testament, respectively.
Well, I'm an atheist, so I don't think I think there was a guy named Jesus, but I don't think Yahweh said anything at all, nor is Jesus Yahweh. So,
and even if we accept the proposition that either those characters exists, then all we have are reports of what they're supposed to have said. But do we actually know that they said anything at all? No, we don't. But to me, that's a complete non-starter, right? Because all we have is reports of what people have said. Unless we actually have a recording of the person saying it, which is a relatively modern invention. It's a non-starter for me.
There's
By the way,
actual atheists who
sorry, go
there's
ahead.
actually atheists who talk about how Jesus said such and such and God said such and such, and no one ever talks about how no one in the actual Bible says anything. And that's what I'm.
Well, so I could read The Hobbit and say the exact same thing, right? Which is why I say what you're saying is a non-starter. It's absolutely useless to say.
Yeah, this is.
I could say the same thing about. I could say the same thing about the movie The Apollo 13. Nobody actually says anything. It's all reports of what people said.
It sounds like something like two stoners would come up with, like after smoking a bowl or something. Like, well, they didn't actually say it, man, so it didn't happen.
Right.
I'm not trying to make fun of you, but like this isn't a very well thought. Like you waited for like this long to say this.
No, I actually told people that Jesus says nothing in the New Testament, and
He does.
got
Well,
pushed
look.
back from
He is. What does that mean? Like, somebody is not like Christians are going to agree. A lot of Christians that I know are going to agree. They're well, not a lot. There's very few that I know that will agree, and I respect them for this. That there weren't any eyewitnesses there, and they're taking it on some faith, or they're taking it on some like, some analysis that they think they give a higher credence that Jesus likely said those things. And here's like an example. Like there's things that scholars use in the New Testament to go, well, it's likely Jesus, or it's likely someone said this because this is not indicative of what Christian belief would be like. In fact, this would be like embarrassing for them. It's very dissimilar to something that they would say. And so that can raise the probability that it's likely that they said it. Similar, like if my mom said that she saw there was like, an arson, and she said she saw me do it, that holds a little bit more weight than if Jim said he saw me do it, right? My own mother is testifying against me. That's probably going to hold a lot more weight than, Jim's. And similarly, when we have these kind of statements from Christians or people about what Jesus said, like Jesus being baptized by John the Baptist, it's not likely that they would make something up like that, because someone who was baptized in antiquity was spiritually inferior to the one baptizing. And so it's very dissimilar to what someone would say. And that's why now the audience or you or anybody else might not be convinced by that. And that's fine, right? I'm not saying that I'm convinced necessarily by it, but it's reasons to provide why you think it's more likely Jesus said that than not, right? It's providing some reason. You've called in and all you've said is they didn't say that, with like no support, nothing. And it's still like, what sense do you even mean they didn't say that? I think you could. I don't have stock in this. I'm not a Christian. I don't care. Right? If I'm playing a non-mythicist role,
or did they not say that in the book? Did they or did they not say that?
This is what we're not going to do. Yeah. This is what we're not going to do. Why do I? Well, it's 2 mutes in a row. Yeah. You're not going to come on the show and demand any shit. Right? You're going to either answer the questions or I'm going to drop you. That's how it's going to work.
So let me try this approach. Did Alexander the Great say, "I am not afraid of an army of lions led by a sheep. I am afraid of an army of sheep led by a lion"? Did he say that? And if he didn't say that, does that prove he doesn't exist, or that he does exist? What does that prove about the existence of Alexander the Great? Whether or not he said that.
Did he say anything?
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're done. I'm done. You're a troll.
That guy waited for
an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. Just for that, like I wish I had that much free time in my life to be able to waste an hour and 30 minutes of my day just to.
I realize.
Did he say anything? Like, God, that must be a really nice life. All right, so we'll try
to do super chats.
Oh yes, I've actually messed up on that. I think because I've been trying to like find just like this one call we can lock in, and every time it's just like, oh my gosh, like,
yeah,
can we get something here? Yeah, we'll totally do it. Do you want to start reading the?
Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, as soon as somebody stops typing in chat, so that I can actually keep it in front of me. So Isaiah, who's been a member for a month, donated $5. It must have been awkward for Noah seeing all the survivors of the other 200 plus flood narratives and knowing that he wasn't that special. Okay, yeah. There's a number of them. Graham Martin sent us $5 for no message. Thank you, Graham. And thank you, Isaiah, as well. I forgot to say that. Daniel Shower, who's been a member for 6 months, sent us $2. Yay, Shelley! I think we can all agree. Yay, Shelley. Let's see. Quantum Answer, who's been a member for 2 whole years. Wow. Thank you so much for being a member for 2 years, Quantum Answer. Gifted $20 to, or excuse me, gifted 20 Atheist Experience memberships.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
In a good way. Thank you.
Yeah. And Gayest Husky sent us $4.99. And I think he only donated this because, folks, if he wants to say something completely silly, donate money. We will read just about anything. So thanks, Gayest Husky, for this bit. The way he shakes it, I can't believe it. I ain't never seen an ass like that. The way Anubis moves it, he makes my slinky go the doing, doing, doing.
Wow. I love Gayest Husky.
That warning came too late, Matt. Sorry. Apparently I wasn't supposed to read that because it's copyrighted song lyrics. Oops.
Sorry. In your defense, I read that as you read it too. It was like,
oops. Yeah. Blind Libby, who's been a member for a year and is also a host, sent us $5. Religious stories endure because nobody is going to since me to death if I tell them that I don't believe that Godzilla destroyed Tokyo in 1954. Yeah. And we will read word for word. I'm not exactly sure what the Blind Limey wanted to put in there. There we go. William Blanken, who's been a member for a month, sent us $2. Big Book is my new god now. So I think that ends the super chats. And yeah, Matt, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Well, when you're hanging out with all the celebrities on yachts talking about all those IPs all the time that you're, investing into and all that, we got it. We get it.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna go to because we're on the God topic, and we got a theist. We got Dave in India. Presence of hologram and brain points towards God reality. Why can't I get a serious call? Is this real?
Hello.
Dave?
Hey. Yes.
Was afraid so. Okay,
And
go ahead.
So my first question is, would you consent to the point that there is a hologram in your brain?
Without evidence.
Probably not. But if it turns out you meant like hologram means like neurons or axons, then I'd be like, you got me. That term usage. But yeah, I think the concept that you're going with, no.
I would say that the neurons are producing the hologram.
Oh, man. Yeah, but...
Yes, we could visualize things in our brain. Some of us can. I have a really hard time doing it. So what?
Yeah, how does this point towards God reality, whatever that is?
Let me give you a picture. Let me give you a complete description of my experience. Is that fine?
Sure. Oh, wait, is this a personal experience?
Yeah, because I was going to say, if it's personal, I don't care. I really don't. It's not going to do anything for me. It's necessarily first person to you.
It's a fact. It's a scientific fact.
What is your personal experience?
Personal experience.
No, it's not a fact. Your interpretation of the fact.
It's an experience that led me to a fact.
Okay, just what's the fact?
Here's what I'm saying. Imagine a valley, and there's a bridge connecting on top of it.
Can't understand what you said.
Interhemispheric fissure. At the top of the head, you have interhemispheric fissure, which is a split, which is an opening present at the top of the brain.
We could visualize anything you describe. Get to the point.
How does this get to God? I don't care.
No, so listen to me completely, guys.
I'm gonna hang up on you completely in a minute. I'm getting really frustrated.
I can visualize anything. Go from the visualization to getting to God. And because if you're going to claim that I'm visualizing God, I'm going to say no. It's just a picture in my head. So it's not going to get you anywhere with us. So assume that we have visualized whatever it is and get us to God.
Please.
Is he still there?
I don't know, Jim.
I thought you guys dropped me off. I thought.
I'm not dropping you. I'm about to start praying as an atheist for a call, like to actually like just give me something. Like, come on.
No, because you guys are not listening to my whole content. You're just.
I'm waiting. I am waiting. So put the 60 seconds on the clock.
You have interhemispheric fissure at the top of your head, which is a physical location in your brain. There is an opening. Nerves pass through on top of it. They carry the blood. The holograms, like valley, project from the bottom to the up, and the hologram is a result of the electrical circuit of your brain. So you have images, and you have emotions.
We've already agreed that we can visualize things. Yes, get us to God.
No, but so this part of reality I didn't know, right?
Dave, we get it. We get it. Your brain, Dave, we get it. Your brain makes you see stuff. We get it. What else? We get it. Your brain makes you see stuff. Yeah, how does that get me to God?
If I become synchronous with universal energy, wouldn't that lead me to?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, dude! Universal what?
I swear it's all my spiritualist friends calling me back for like not being an atheist now. They're just trying to get back at me.
It's just getting in sync with the universal energy. Right.
You can't be serious right now. Like, what does that mean? I'll give you 15 seconds to tell me what that means. I predict you won't be able to tell me what it even means.
If you're playing a game, would you prefer your inner dialogue to be curse words, or would you prefer it to be something saintly?
I have no idea what you're fucking even getting to.
Oh my God. Dave, I'm going to give you one more chance, man. Just one more chance. Bridge the gap from me seeing stuff with my brain and like, there's a necessary relation between like this neural state and the tree that I see. And so I see the tree and then there's whatever you think hologram stuff going on. Great. We granted all the toys are for you to play with. How does that follow to God? To a mind that exists alone, that creates the entire world. How does that follow? Crickets.
Because my experience and that main mind.
I don't give a damn about your experience.
Right. See, the problem with your experience is that
I'm a part of
you then have to demonstrate how you came to a supernatural conclusion from any experience you had. You've got to walk us through that. So we grant your experience was real to you. Big fucking deal. Get us to God.
Everybody, by the way, everybody has experiences, by the way. You're not privileged. It's not like, I had an experience and it was a God thing, so I don't actually have to do the work to show you. Because it's an experience, I get the experience card, I get off free, I don't have to explain anything. That'd be awesome. I would just say, I experienced naturalism, so naturalism is true. Wow, that was so easy. I should do that from now on, instead of actually caring about my beliefs and defending my beliefs, updating my beliefs when I have a more defensible belief, which is a good thing, by the way. You are being a coward. You're not even willing to talk about your belief. I can just tell that you fear some way that we just break it down and then all of a sudden it comes collapsing. That's the only hypothesis that I have that explains why you're not willing to just give me the entailment. You just keep saying a bunch of gibberish. It's so frustrating, Dave.
Yeah, you're right. I do agree with you guys. There isn't much meaning in life, but if you want to survive.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We never said that. Yeah. So let me try this, right? I had an experience while I was in the Army. Buddy of mine, we're getting ready to go take a test, a practical test on the radar we were being trained to work on. He said we were both kind of bored because it wasn't a difficult test. And he says some vaguely Latin-esque words, waves his hands around, and then says, "I've cursed our radar." And I was like, okay, cool, whatever, dude. And we go to the radar. He flips the power switch, which is, of course, the first thing we want to do. Well, the dish starts to turn backwards and groan really, really loudly. Now, that's not supposed to happen. By the laws of physics and everything we understood about electronics, this dish should never rotate backwards, shouldn't be shaking like it is, and shouldn't be groaning like it is. There's just no way it should be doing that. And so figuring that something was really wrong, we slammed the off switch. Our instructors came over and said that wasn't supposed to happen. And we're like, okay. So we continue to investigate with our instructors. We have no idea why it happened. This is an actual real personal experience. I have witnesses if I could contact them. I've been in touch with my Army buddies in decades. Should I assume that our radar was infested with a demon, as my friend said, as my buddy said? Should I assume that? And if so, under what circumstances should I assume that the supernatural is real, right? I can't conclude that he actually did that because I have zero good evidence that the supernatural is real. So I can't come to a supernatural conclusion for this, right? All I can do is go, I have no idea why the radar did that. And neither did my instructors. None of us did that. And that radar never did it again as long as I was there. Do you see what I'm saying about trying to go from here's my personal experience to the supernatural explanation? I can take any experience you want, and all I need to know is how you get to a supernatural explanation. Because I don't have sufficient good evidence to take any personal experience you might have and conclude it's supernatural. So I want to know what evidence you have to conclude what you experienced was supernatural.
Yeah, but life is meaningless because we're atheists.
Oh yeah. Oh, he left. Never mind.
Oh, I dropped. Oh, sorry. I dropped it.
I wouldn't have gone on the story.
I was gonna let you go. No, I mean he can listen. It's archived. It's there. So there's no issue there.
That's why we don't care what the personal experience is, right? My whole story was completely pointless because I have no way to conclude that it was supernatural. But I tell this story because when I tell that story to Christians, none of them want to say that I should conclude that demons exist or that a demon possessed the radar, right? They don't want to come to that conclusion.
Sure.
And it's like, well, why not? Well, because it's a negative, right? But if we propose that if somebody gets their head chopped off and they come back and their head's back on, that we should take that as evidence of the supernatural as well. And it's like, no.
Yeah. And well, it's funny because they're, actually, I'll get it because there's a super chat that's asking me something, and I was like,
okay.
It gets tricky, and it's kind of like the expectations there are the similar kind of issues I have. But I'll read this one first from Jesus Tales. Jesus is based on Old Testament Jesuses. The Jesuses was throwing me off there. Jesus, son of Nun, killed the king of Jerusalem, hung him on a tree, and was taken down at evening. Was put in a cave. And large rocks were rolled in front of cave. I'm not really sure I understand.
Jesus tells,
the Jesus is based on OT Jesuses. I don't know what that means, but maybe I think
son
they
of
are.
None does it.
Yeah. Oh, son of. Yeah. Maybe that's typo. I don't know. Okay, so we got $5 from the Tauniest. So JMike said he didn't think that there was no evidence for God, just not compelling evidence. What does he consider any or low? And so I mean, this is a good question because the way I want to phrase it is that if you specify your hypothesis or you specify a designer or something that where it's, I don't know, let's say that there would be an entity that has no free will that's forced to create the world around us. Well, what's expected on that hypothesis is that there would be some world, right? You start adding all these other auxiliary hypotheses, like it's loving or it has these certain desires and these motivations. You can provide yourself evidence for that stuff, but the problem is when you start to add a lot of those, characteristics to get there, you're lowering like the intrinsic prior probability of that being true. And so for me, if I'm going to try to be as honest, I toss this up in my head because this is my hang up. My hang up is, well, I don't know that there's really any expectations from this hypothesis. It's not clear to me that a God would even create like a rock or a universe, or would just chill alone and with its own mental states, right? I have an issue on why I don't think, that's even possible, but that's a whole separate thing. So I don't even know that there would be something expected on that hypothesis at all, such that it would even constitute evidence, unless you make that move. You start adding all these characteristics and desires and motivations, but then you can ask yourself this question, like, where did those come from? They come from thin cloth. They don't really come from anywhere. They come from the narrative you already buy into, right? So it's a tricky question. It's like, I want to be charitable and be like, well, kind of like Bigfoot, sure, you can go find some print and that's expected on their hypothesis. When you really reel it back, I start to like go back the other way where I'm like, I don't know. I just don't even know that there would be any expectation that it would do anything. Like, I don't know why that's preferred over it just standing in a perfect state of perfection always, So I don't know. I mean, it's a good question. I kind of toss up between this, but one sense I want to be charitable, and the other sense I'm like, I don't know. It seems pretty hard to square expectations on with this view. I'm trying to be nice though. So,
and for me, it's the lowest form of evidence is the stories in the Bible. Because we have so many examples of there being two stories, but because we think of the Bible as, the book of Genesis has chapters, so we think of those chapters like we do, say, Tolkien or any other book, right? Chapter 1, and then the events in chapter 2 follow from the events in chapter 1, and so on. And that's not what we have in the Bible, right? It's separate stories that have been put together and mashed together with no real attempt to turn them into one coherent story in a lot of cases. So we have the same problem with the flood and other places as well. And then we have, books like Daniel, which, many historical or Bible scholars think is just a whole cloth forgery. So it's the Bible is the worst form of evidence for God. None of the Bible stories seem coherent to me, except as a collection of stories aimed at theology, not history.
I don't even get how this is the common debate you'll see with people just on like online, like, or even amongst Christians in house debates or Muslims, that you can have this interpretive principle such that it corresponds 1-to-1 to the intention that God, means, right? His intention on that verse. And we ask this question, like, in virtue of what could you get that access to such a tool to figure out, like, okay, that was a wrong interpretation. This one here is 1-to-1 correspondence with God's intention. And you think about like the process of doing that. When I get to know somebody, like cross-examiner, right? For example, the more I get to know cross-examiner, the more I can like pick up on the body language, the way that he phrases certain things, and vice versa. And they'll be privileged to, say their friends that I haven't met yet, and interpreting them. And I might think that something they said was mean to me. Like, hey man, you shouldn't, like, why did he say that? And, cross-examiner is just like, bro, that's actually a really good sign. He really likes you. That means like, he doesn't actually do that with people. So that's actually a really good sign. And it's like, okay, what I've established here is that there's some background information that kind of helps me interpret things more often, which is why I can interpret my mother better than Jim can, or, his mother better than I can. Right. And when we notice that, what we're noticing is that we can construct this kind of hypothesis or this view on what the interpretation is with that background desiderata. But how do we get the background information on God? You have to go to the text and then face the exact same problem that when you come to an attribute or a characterization or a motivation or desire, that you now have to do the same thing you did before. Assume an interpretive principle, assume that you're 1-to-1 on the intention, and just beg the question for that view. And I don't think you can do it in principle. I think this is like the nail in the coffin for these religious beliefs or these scriptural beliefs, is that you could never have such access. But anyway, that's my rant for the day. And hopefully that makes up for any of the crappier calls, so I don't know. But anyway, hope, everybody in Austin, I hope you're having a good time there. All right. We will, I think we'll close it up here. I do want to remind everybody. Sorry.
Well, we've got one more super chat.
Oh, yeah, we do? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, from Daniel Shower, who Shower. I can't pronounce Shower. Who's been a member for 6 months, sent us $5 and says, and back to Shelley Segal for more amazing music.
Yeah, he did it for me. I was going to do now back to Shelley. Just make it totally intelligible. All right. Thank you, everybody. I want to get the crew cam in now because we couldn't get that. So let's give a warm applause and love. Unless we're in part 2. Yeah, we got it. We figured it out. We're great. Awesome. Thank you to the crew running everything there. They got a full crowd up in there. So is there possible we get an audience cam, or do I have consent to do that? Is everyone okay with that? I want to make sure I don't step over any toes.
Yeah, really.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get them on the screen. Yeah. Look at those lovely people. So I don't know, Jim, before I guess I give any announcements, do you have any, do you want to one up me with your rants?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm good.
Awesome. All right. Well, we want to let everybody know the prompt for the week this week is, why did God really go no contact with people? We'll be really excited about that in the comments for next week. Also, we have our annual Bat Cruise fundraiser on August 24th. You can see me, Forrest, Secular, maybe Jim, if he's available. Maybe Johnny. I saw him last time. So it'd be great. Meet people like Vern and some of the crew. So it'd be great. Also available on atheist-community.org are printable call-in flyers. You can post those with permission to the community bulletin board of your location, and have people call in and defend their faith. And if you want to know more, you can go to www.atheist-community.org, and you can learn about the organization itself, its policies, and how to get involved. And so now I think we are going to take it away to Shelley for a nice little concert. Oh, that was perfect timing.
Thanks, everyone. My morality has nothing to do with the Bible or the verses of the Quran. My morality won't judge you by your spirituality, but by the things that you have done. My morality is not set into stone tablets who don't even tell you not to hurt children. My morality is not dictated by a deity. It's developed from empathy, dependence, and love. My morality accepts everybody's sexuality, is more concerned with inequality than validations from above. My morality is not set into stone tablets who don't even tell you that it's worthwhile to be good for being good's own sake, that not to think for yourself can be a deadly mistake. My morality is not recitable from memory. It's something inside of me, how I wanna be. basically not to hurt anybody. It abhors any brutality. It stems from our common humanity. And it's what my grandmother taught to me. And it's mine because I'm free. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here, although I have bad news. I am just a hologram organized by the previous caller. Oh, no, it's so awesome to be here. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Thanks to the Atheist Experience and all the crew for putting everything together today. This is awesome. This is a song about the power of music. I think it extends to the power of podcasts and shows, and I think people that put themselves out there, because there could be nothing, but you make something and you put yourself out there to make a difference in the world. So this is a shout out to you and a reminder to myself of how powerful music and my voice can be. You give the gift of song when there's so much in this world that's going wrong. You show us how to feel in the pieces of your soul. They help us heal. You made beauty from your pain. You are the heartbeat of a people who are dancing in the rain. I do believe. I do believe. In the power that you bring every time you sing, every time that you sing. From behind some old guitar, there's a message that reminds us who we are. You make beauty from your pain. You are the heartbeat of a people who are dancing in the rain. I do believe. I do believe. In the power that you bring every time you sing, every time that you sing. A voice behind each wind blows. You show us what we have to save, to save. You shine a light into the shadows. You show us what it takes to be brave, be brave. I do believe. I do believe. I do believe in the power that you bring every time that you sing, every time that you sing. Thank you so much. Follow the guidebook for an afterlife. Which one do I try? Which one do I try? I'd like to believe that I'll never die, but I can't comply. No, I can't comply. And all the self-appointed representatives of their own imaginings in the sky, they want to usher in the messianic age. They don't mind if it's brought on by nuclear rage. And they are so sure of their ability to outlive the utility of their bodies. But just remember, that was the last thought in the brain of every suicide bomber in every hijacked plane. Follow the guidebook for an afterlife. Which one do I try? Which one do I try? I'd like to believe that I'll never die, but I can't comply. No, I can't comply. And thousands are humming that the second coming's coming. And environmental responsibility is succumbing to the suicidal longing for paradise. Can't they see it's already before our eyes? And all that makes us who we are, we find, cannot survive without a mind. But you're so afraid to die, you're willing to sacrifice, living through it all with the knowledge that you only have one life. Follow the guidebook for an afterlife. Which one do I try? Which one do I try? I'd like to believe that I'll never die, but I can't comply. No, I can't comply. And from the day you were born, you are going to die. It's not a pleasant thought at all, but the way that I deal with it is to treasure each moment with my surroundings and those that I love. I spend my days trying to engage with the world, to learn as much about everything as I can, using the body of knowledge, which is our shared heritage, to further understand the historical and evolutionary context of man. To hold revelation in a higher place is to spit in the face of those who chose to dedicate their lives to enrich our own. Follow the guidebook for an afterlife. Which one do I try? Which one do I try? I'd like to believe that I'll never die, but I can't comply. No, I can't comply. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Malachei HaMalachim, Mi HaMelech, Mi HaMelech. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyono, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMalachim, Mi HaMelech, Mi HaMelech, Ani HaMelech. You. This might be a dangerous move, but I wanted to open up to our studio audience. If anyone, has any questions for me or any stories, if some of the things that I'm singing about, I think are quite common to our experience. So if anyone has a question or a story or just something they'd like to share, I'd love you to join in. And if not, that's cool, because I got heaps more songs. We got Jamie.
Hello again. Thanks very much. Hello. It's me. Thank you very much for performing for us. It's fantastic that you're here. What I wanted to ask, or what I wanted to sort of pick your brains on, is that do you feel that as a media creator yourself, the portrayal of religion and religious figures in media, like music and movies and books and games and stuff, I mean, how much impact do you think that has? And do you think that we can counter it with our own impact? Like, how much impact do you feel that your music has had in the whole mission of promoting free thought and countering the more deleterious effects of religion and faith?
Right, that's a great question. And I think the answer is pretty broad. I think, religion and religious figures and religious leaders, I think, are in media given, I think, probably more to a positive spin, but also negative spin as well. And I think there are popular artists, people like Hosier, where those critical messages are kind of coming through to the mainstream. And I think that's really positive for myself. I love getting to sing about what I'm going through and what matters to me. That's very meaningful. And I also love kind of bringing this discussion to like mainstream music media that might not usually be having a discussion about religion. It's like, hey, what's your newest single? And who are your 3 top bands that you love? But instead I get to kind of bring this really maybe more intense discussion. So I enjoy doing that and getting to bring that to like traditional music media. In terms of like the impact I've had, it's hard to say just from the people that, connect with me. But I guess what I hope to do and what would mean the most to me is for the people that have been through my experience of leaving tradition, leaving community, leaving religion, losing faith, people who have that shared experience with me, that they can hear my music and feel understood and feel heard and feel represented. And for the people who, don't relate to this experience and can't understand it, can, at least maybe hear the perspective, whereas they might not otherwise hear it from me if we're having a conversation. They might not let me give my opinion for 4 minutes, but if I hold them hostage with a nice melody and a pretty voice, then maybe I get a chance to get my opinion across in a different medium. So that's my hope, yeah. Oh, thank you. So I'm going to play another tune. This is a song I released last year, and I wrote it about my mom. All of the hate in my life I have taken, carry it down in my bones. How can I heal from the mark it's been making onto my body and soul? I was told I was ugly, taught to believe it, but I just can't see it anymore, 'cause I look just like my mother. And she's beautiful. I look just like my mother. Ooh, now you can make me feel small, 'cause I look just like my mother. Just like my mother. It wasn't a problem till they tried to blame me for something beyond my control. Now I've been trying to shrink in this body she gave me since I was 8 years old. I was told I was ugly, taught to believe it, but I just can't see it anymore, 'cause I look just like my mother. Ooh, and she's beautiful. I look just like my mother. Ooh, now you can't make me feel small, 'cause I look just like my mother. just like my mother. Thank you. I like to play a song for anybody that is going through a difficult time. I recently had a bit of a rough time myself and found myself sitting in my studio, not really able to get up off the couch, and I have to do something, so I wrote this song. And yeah, it's just a message goes out to anyone that's having a hard time. You know, even if it doesn't feel like it right now, like one day you're going to be on the other side of it, and it's a really good place to be, so just hold on. This song is called Free. Just because it was my choice doesn't make it any easier. Anytime I hear your voice, it makes me wanna run straight back home. Feels like I'm dying, like I'll never stop crying, but I know it's the right thing. And I understand that my life is a mess. Pull me out of my misery. How much longer till I find my peace? And I understand that I lost it somehow, but I know I can't find it in me. Yeah, just hold on and I will be free. It's hard to look with present eyes at a world that was so long ago. I know I gave it every try, yeah, and that's why I can't let it go. Feels like I'm dying, like I'll never stop crying, but I know it's the right thing. And I understand that my life is a mess. Pull me out of my misery. How much longer till I find my peace? anyone taking the mic out there? Any brave? Jamie again? No. All right. Well, that's cool. I'm going to tell my own stories then. So, basically, I grew up, as I mentioned previously, in a Jewish community, and I went to synagogue every week. I would describe us as kind of medium Jews, like moderately observant. But we went to an Orthodox synagogue every week. And so at the synagogue, we practiced gender segregation. So the women would sit separately from the men. The men would sit downstairs and the women would sit upstairs. And if you couldn't make it upstairs, you could sit up the back, but you would have to sit behind a separation called a mechitza, which was like a curtain that we could see through. I also went to a Jewish day school, so I learned to speak Hebrew when I was a young girl, and there were prayers that we would say every morning, and from about 10 years old, I would say this particular prayer every morning. That was a call and response between the boys and the girls. And the boys would say in Hebrew, "Dear God, thank you for not making me a woman." And we would say back, "Dear God, thank you for making me what I am," curtsy. And, so I was given, even though I loved my community and I loved the tradition and I wanted to be part of it, we were given very strong messages about what it means to be a young woman, a woman in Judaism, and what it was like for me. I wanted to participate. I wanted to be part of the service. My father and my brother would be called up for the great honor of leading the service in song, but I was not allowed to because I was a woman, and women's voices are too arousing, which is true. But if you guys can contain yourselves for the rest of the show, I really wanted to participate in the same way as my father and brother, but I wasn't allowed. So I would wait until everyone had left the synagogue and we're going to the hall for a kiddush, and I would have the synagogue to myself, and I would go stand on the bimah, and I would stand in front of the Aron HaKodesh, the holiest place in the synagogue, and I would have my little moments of my own spirituality. But eventually I left my tradition because it was too hard to exist as a woman for myself in Judaism. And for a long time I was very angry. But these days there's certain elements that I reclaim for myself. So what I'm going to do for you now in two parts, I'm going to do two pieces. I'm going to sing the Etz Chaim, which is a song that my father sings every week in the synagogue, but I'm going to sing it for you here at the Atheist Community of Austin because it's mine to do whatever the heck I want with. So I'm going to sing that now, the Etz Chaim, and then I'm going to go straight into my song Eve, which is a critique of the Abrahamic traditions and their texts and the way they talk about women and women's roles. So I've got Etz Chaim going into Eve. Here we go. Etz Chaim umachasikim bo utomatecha ma'usha darechecha Shuvah Yameinu Kekedem Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Chadesh Yameinu The Bible tells me I was made for and from man, and I must do for him everything that I can. I must surrender to his will. I must submit. I can't make the household decisions, 'cause I am unfit. It tells me my place with everlasting grace. The Bible tells me I must be silent. You can't hear my voice. My role has been divinely defined, and I have no other choice. I may not be a teacher of man. I must cover up my shame. These are the laws of the one who in vain I cannot name. He tells me my place with everlasting grace. And my punishment for wanting to learn is a painful birth from which I may not return. The Bible tells me that I am unclean. I am impure, you cannot touch me. It has nothing to do with where I've been. It is part of who I am. It is because I corrupt man. I was asking for it just by being a woman. It tells me my place with everlasting grace. And my punishment for wanting to learn is a painful birth from which I may not return. The Bible tells me I was made for and from man, and I must do for him everything that I can. I must surrender to his will. I must submit. I can't make the household decisions, 'cause I am unfit. It tells me my place with everlasting grace. Yeah, he tells me my place with everlasting grace. Thank you. All right. This is another song from my album called An Atheist album, which I recorded after I left my religion. And it was all I could talk about. And it was all I could sing about. And it was an amazing experience to be able to get it all out like that in the studio. You know, the band that I recorded this album with, actually, they didn't even want their names on the album because they would, you know, I think the drummer didn't want his grandma to find out, and everyone else was kind of scared that it would, you know, impact their career. And we were in the studio. We were recording "Saved," which is the single from the album, and we had to stop during one take because the drummer was laughing because when I yelled "bullshit" really loudly, I was very excited and some spit came flying out of my mouth. And the drummer was like, all right, we have to stop that take. We have to start it again. So I can't explain how good it feels. I mean, I'm sure so many of you know how good it feels to say these things out loud for the first time, you know? And it's been so long for me since I've gone through that transition, but I remember how amazing it felt to say it out loud for the first time, to be shooting the video in the street out loud, singing these words. It still feels pretty great to be able to pick up the guitar and revisit those places and share them with you. So thank you so much for having me. This is called Apocalyptic Love Song for Hitchens. One day the sun is going to die. For us it means no more sunsets. To the universe, just one less star in the sky. And almost all who ever lived have already died. Countless stories of love and war and hope and pain now silently side by side. And yes, I understand that my whole life is just a blink of an eye in the history of the earth is with each moment that goes by. But this moment that I'm with you, it feels like time has stood still. It feels somehow like it matters, and that it always will. In 1 billion years, the oceans will dry, while somehow life may continue. It will not be known to you and I. To think we are so important is an obvious crime. We know that we are specks on a tiny dot, hurtling through space and time. And yes, I understand that my whole life is just a blink of an eye, and the history of the earth is with each moment that goes by. But this moment that I'm with you, it feels like time has stood still. It feels somehow like it matters, and that it always will. Yes, I understand that my whole life is just a blink of an eye, and the history of the earth is with each moment that goes by. But this moment that I am with you, it feels like time has stood still. It feels somehow like it matters, and that it always will. Thank you. Thanks so much, guys. All right, so to play us out is me. Double me. Oh, that's right. So I'm here in Texas. Super excited to be able to be here in Austin live for you guys. I'm here on tour, so I do have a couple of shows that I'm doing as well. in San Antonio on Friday and in Houston on this Sunday coming up. So I'm looking forward to spending a bit of time in Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. But yeah, this is going to be my last song. Thank you so much for having me, being the best live in studio audience. Say that I need to be saved. Say with me, the devil's got his way. I want to know how when you are praying, and when you are doomsdaying, how you think you know that someone is listening to what you are saying. And so you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral core derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies. Say I need to hear the truth. A sales pitch of eternal life and eternal youth. All these blessings you are bestowing upon the one you say is all-knowing. Well, are they really deserved if he is sending me where you say I am going? And so you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral core derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder what will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies. Of your lies. And so you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which your moral core derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder what will it take for you to start opening your eyes, to start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys. You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs. I wonder when we'll be rid of your lies. Of your lies. Oh, that was so awesome, you guys. Thank you. What will it take for you to start opening your eyes, start questioning the bullshit everyone around you buys? You think it's any of your business what goes on between my thighs? I wonder
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.